On day one of week 6, our illustrious explorers, along with their men-at-arms, were traveling south, as I mentioned before, from their camp for about 15 miles, which took most of the day. Hey Wargamers, welcome back. Purple Druid here with another video featuring Brun-Dax, Raf, Lorgar, and Karanis on their journey to the Trollfen. And today's video is going to be a little bit different. We are not going to be taking notes in the notebook. We are not going to be rolling on any tables in the Kal-Arath book or Lords of the Pit. We've done all of that already. Our group has been traveling from their campsite here southward along the river into the forest and then along here to Hex 2125-27, where they met some slavers. And that's where we ended our last video. We did a lot of dice rolling to determine this terrain, etc. But now that we're in the civilized zone around the city of Karanis, we don't need to make those rules anymore because we know what the terrain is. The terrain is simply grassland. And so what we're going to do is a little bit of a recap of day one and then carry on with the rest of the trip to Karanis. On day one of week 6, our illustrious explorers, along with their men-at-arms, were traveling south, as I mentioned before, from their camp for about 15 miles, which took most of the day. The weather was clear with strong winds, and they were well stocked with food and water, so they made good time along the grasslands. In the mid-afternoon, they came to a stream, which is right about here. Not wide, but too deep to cross on foot. Also, they found a giant's skull mounted on a post about 100 feet from the shore. None of them were sure of its meaning, so they left it alone. In addition, they were unsure of where the stream led and wanted to keep away from the druid they encountered 3 weeks ago and his mantis servants. So they followed the water upstream to the south and east. They were able to reach the edge of a wood by dark where they set up camp. The stream was wider here and likely shallower, but they chose not to investigate in the fading light. Now, they didn't have any encounters overnight, and so on day 2, the morning broke clear with a light breeze. They continued to follow the stream into the forest, and it continued to get broader. Raf was of the opinion it would yield a ford before too long. Now, after about 3 miles of following the stream in the woods, it spread out into a great flat, and the group was able to wade across with the water reaching up to their necks in places. And so that's right about here. So they continued along. Once they crossed the river, they decided to, or stream, I should say, they wanted to head towards Karanis, so they turned to the southwest. Raf was in the lead, and she was directing them toward a rise she had seen beyond the trees, which is this little spot right here. Yes. Now, they came to a great steep hill, nearly a quarter mile long, but narrow and nearly 200 feet high. A line of prayer flags and what looked like corpses impaled on posts were visible near the top. Raff climbed up to investigate, discovering a sacrificial site. She also nearly stumbled onto a procession of monks and worshippers, nearly 24 of them, chanting as they marched in a procession around a dolmen on the hilltop. Now, Raff decided it were better not to interrupt another ceremony as they had with the druid. She carefully climbed back down the hill and led the group off to the southeast. Here they found a field of wild grapevines and had a snack before plunging back into the woods to the southwest. They traveled through 2 more miles of woods and emerged on a rocky outcropping, which is right here. It was high enough to get their bearings and continue to the southwest. They came out of the woods a few miles later to find a small rill about 7 feet deep and 13 feet wide, which they followed to a deep basin, which is here, some 2 miles long and 200 feet deep. The basin had a pool at the bottom and was overgrown with belladonna. They passed around the south side of this danger. Raff led them another 2 to 3 miles southwest, and they saw a group of men moving parallel to their course. Their paths slowly converged as both groups decided to take a closer look at the other. A couple of hours before sundown, the 2 groups were able to identify each other, and Lorgar went off to parley with the strangers. It turned out the group were slavers, instantly recognizable once Lorgar was close enough by their crimson tunics and jeweled torques. Lorgar hailed them, and the slavers replied with a courteous response. Boy, that was clumsy. Lorgar parleyed with the leader Mirthak and negotiated joining the slavers on the way back to Karanis. The group now totaled 26 people, 17 with the slavers and 9 with the PCs. Mirthak and his assistant Sarnara were welcoming and friendly to Brun-Dax's group. They decided to set up camp nearby and prepared a meal together. With plenty of men for watches, Brun-Dax, Raff, and Mirthak sat around the fire, exchanging stories. Mirthak told them of the burial mound to the northeast and how it was haunted by the ghosts of many men killed in a terrific battle over 100 years ago. He also told them of the legend of the warrior priest interred there and the hoard of gold buried with him. Brun-Dax asked for news of Castle Trollfen, and the slavers simply looked at one another. Brun-Dax was a little bit troubled by the look that Mirthak gave to his assistant, but he decided not to press the issue. The fire was burning down, and so everyone went to bed. Day 3 dawned clear with a gentle breeze. The group traveled about 2 miles when they were intercepted by a patrol from the city. Now, the slavers were known to the members of the patrol, who greeted them warmly. Handshakes and possibly some silver coins were exchanged all around. The patrol accompanied them back to the city walls. Brun-Dax and company each paid 1 silver talent to get in, and the slaver Mirthak gave best wishes for the rest of the party's journey. All right, so as you can see, the narrative style goes much faster, especially because we didn't have any combat in this particular leg of the journey. Now, since we've arrived at Karanis, and we've done a bunch of work to develop the various wards and areas of the city, which I'm going to draw this in so you can see it a little better. I've also outlined a few of the factions. The Gladiators Union has been detailed, as have the Slavers and a couple of others that I have added to this list that are listed in the Substacks. If you check out the Substack Building Karanis article, you'll be able to see the complete details. There's a complete video that I go through the creation of this map and the various keywords that we'll be using to describe each of the wards as well as the factions within. So in our next episode, next week, we are going to go ahead and get out Treacheries of the Troublesome Towns. And we'll roll up some encounters from this book because Brun-Dax and company are going to, first of all, go to the market district and try to find a place to stay. And then they'll need to replenish their supplies that they lost in the encounter with the mantises. And then all they have to do is cross the river, exit by one of these gates, and make their way around the Trollfen to Castle Trollfen. And I think that will be pretty interesting when we do the city stuff, because we'll do a lot of rolling and mechanical items for those videos. When we get back out into the countryside on the other side of the river, I believe that what I'll do is go ahead and I think I'll record what I'm doing mechanically with the die rolling and such, but then I'll do a voiceover. I'll speed up the video, except where maybe something interesting happens, like if there's an encounter, if there's a battle, something like that. I think the next battle we want to go ahead and use the Kal-Arath rules, and then we will use the abstract rules again. It just depends on the encounter and how many people there are. So, but I do want to do some more work with the abstract rules because I'd like to develop them a little bit better. They are posted on the itch.io and they're free to download. So if anybody has downloaded those and has any comments on them, I'd love to hear your comments. Any kind of feedback at all would be fantastic. This has been a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to the comments that y'all leave on the video and on the Substack. So thanks again for watching. This has been a little bit shorter video, so I really appreciate your time and attention. Have a great day and keep on gaming.